What happens when a New York City creative director takes his branding skills to the middle of the West Texas desert?
And it was just something that was in my head, and I knew I wanted to get kind of more into like short-term rentals. I like the idea of
Coleman Davis didn't just build a short-term rental. He built a cinematic, Instagram-worthy destination called Ghost Town Casitas.
it's like a three-sided mirror, so you walk in and you see like the desert, which I thought was pretty cool. So now we have 3 casitas right now at Ghost Town Casitas.
His secret weapon, it's not just about the structures, it's about the storytelling, photography, branding, and emotional connection. Coleman's listings sell the region, not just the rooms. He's designing for the camera before he even builds. He's giving his photographers a vision to elevate.
But that's kind of my background in advertising, where like you really, when you get a brief, you don't know what you're doing. You just kind of study that brand.
My name is Jason Muth. I'm a 33-time Airbnb superhost. I worked in the media business for over 25 years, and now my chapter 2 in life and work is in the world of short-term rentals. Since then, I've hosted over 6,500 guests and their dogs, and now we're managing over $30 million worth of vacation homes, including the 5 that we own and the 22 on behalf of our clients. This show is about helping you create a smart stay. Profitable, personal, and built to last. It's real world hosting done smart. Let's go. All right, Coleman, what's going on? Welcome to Smart Stay Show. It is great to see you again.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me. Nice to meet you, Rory.
Yeah. You know, Coleman and I met a number of years ago when I first joined STR Secrets. He was a member of the mastermind. And, you know, we just got talking a couple times, like, you know, message threads, conversations. We might have met in person. I don't think so, though. I don't think we were at the same conferences or anything together, right?
Correct. Yeah, we'd never met in person, but we spent some time. I know you were building something at some point.
We were building something at some point. We built it. It was a massive water damage claim right afterward.
Nice.
And then which we've talked about many times in the podcast. We don't have to talk into this episode because I want to talk about your stuff. And it's all rebuilt and everything's going great there. But yeah, awesome. You're right. You were building stuff. You were in a bit of a different spot a couple of years ago with kind of your focus and goals on short-term rentals. And like when I reconnected with you a couple months ago, I saw some posts that you made online, and you got these Ghost Town Casitas going on in Texas, and they look stunning. They're just so pretty, so cinematic. It just feels like a Hollywood set, and everything that you think of for like a romantic getaway in a desert setting that just looks so Instagrammable. And I was like, Rory, you got to check out what Coleman's up to, and we got to get him on the podcast. And here we are today. So Ghost Town Casitas, you're in Texas right now.
Correct.
And I'll just intro you a little bit more, and then you could you really kind of fill in the blanks. I remember you worked in the advertising marketing business. You spent a lot of time in New York City. And since I'm from New York, I know we talked about that a little bit. But you're in Texas now, and you're developing this brand outside Big Bend. Is that
Correct.
right? Yeah. So tell us about Ghost Town Casitas.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for those the compliment on the photos and that kind of stuff. It means a lot because it's a lot of hard work. But Ghost Town Casitas started back in around COVID, like everyone getting into short-term rentals. You couldn't fly anywhere, so my girlfriend at the time, now wife, and we were driving around Texas, West Texas, came across, Big Bend, and I'm from Texas, but I never really explored that part of Texas because it's so far away. And so we were driving over there, really fell in love with the area, and like noticed, Marfa's been on the map for, a while now. And so we stayed over there, then stayed outside of Big Bend. And it was just something that was in my head. And I knew I wanted to get kind of more into like short-term rentals. I like the idea of creating something, building something. And the thing is, I was actually investing in like a long-term rental, and it was a tear down house, or it should have been a tear down house. But I just put a lot into it. I was bringing it back to life because it was easier for me to do that in East Austin. And it was that little teardown, which my contractor and realtor told me to like, just let it go. But I held on to it, put it back together, and I was able to refinance that and get some equity out, which is, for people who may not know, the BRRRR strategy, I forget what the acronym stands for. It's like buy, rent, rehab, and like rent out again or something.
Renovate, repeat. Yeah.
And pretty much. And so I did that. And at the same time, I knew I wanted to invest in something that more of a short-term rental aspect. West Texas was awesome. Someone was selling something over there, an Adobe structure and a trailer to glamp, renovated like Airstream like trailer. And at that same time, I was like, okay, well, I can take that equity and then put it into this new project. And so I bought that property and I rebranded it. And I realized in West Texas, two things that not a lot of other short-term rental hosts are doing, which hopefully they do. And now that I'm talking about it, but it's like the photos, like you mentioned, you thought the photos felt cinematic. And I'm a big believer in like taking great photos. It's like an obvious thing, but a lot of people don't really spend a lot of time, in different markets on the photos. And I like to take photos. I think my photos that I take on my phone are nice, but they're nowhere near where they need to be. Like you need to find a photographer to really get into it and really make the property stand out. You need to have a great property to begin with and great design, of course, but you also have to have the photos to complement it. And so I kind of knew that going in. And so started with this like property. I branded it because my background is in advertising. So I took that property, gave it a look, gave it like a logo lockup, and then after I did that, I did the interior design, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like putting it together. But that's kind of my background in advertising, where like really, when you get a brief, you don't know what you're doing. You just kind of study that brand or that objective, that goal, and you kind of put together like a mood board with images and like some language and like a logo. And so I was treating like Ghost Town Casitas like a brand assignment, like doing the interior design. What does it look like? What do I want people to take away from it? And that's how Ghost Town Casitas came about. I did that for a couple years, and then I ended up building one more casita on the property, which is called the Ghost House, and it's a mirror cabin. It's like a 3-sided mirror, so you walk in and you see like the desert, which I thought was pretty cool. And so now we have 3 casitas right now, Ghost Town Casitas, and I'm also now looking at building a whole nother like separate Ghost Town Casitas, like not 2.0, but just like a separate property brand identity called Big Bend Vista down the road. And excited about that. We're about to like break ground next week.
Coleman, what a great way to take your professional experience and kind of move it into this space. Not everybody has the luxury of doing that who get into short-term rentals. A lot of people work, you name the job, fill in the blank, and they happen to get a second home on the weekends. And some people do. I mean, some people are in real estate business, some are in, insurance or finance or creative. Like we've spoken to some other creative folks on the show. But hearing some of the terms that you use, I had a cup of coffee in the advertising business in between stints working in the media business, which is where I spent most of my time. So terms like, creative brief and logo lockup, I'm like, oh my God, like this is exactly like what the advertising business is. And you just applied that to Ghost Town Casitas. I want to ask some questions about photography. And before I do that, like, let me just kind of take Rory's temperature on what he's heard so far, because he was kind of stunned by your photos also before we started recording this.
So, I mean, with the photos we see, so, I've never been to West Texas and I've never been to the Big Bend area, and the photos themselves, they sold the properties and the properties are gorgeous, but they also sold the area. So I guess when you're marketing these properties and you're putting together all this work to make sure you have just the right marketing, just the right photos, do you find that you're selling the area to people and convincing them to come to West Texas in the first place? Or are you targeting people who are coming to the area and then they're just picking your property? I mean, it's probably a little bit of both, but are you pulling people to the area who otherwise wouldn't be going in the first place?
It's a little bit of both. It's a great question, because I also see I say a lot of people aren't focused on photography, but there are a few, and there is also a few who are focused on the actual design of the place. So, Marfa does that too. So they really like bring it out there. They publicize West Texas. So now you have Marfa, and then you have like Big Bend. So I try to do that. I try to also advertise like, hey, come visit West Texas. And when I bring in a photographer every now and then, I'll have them do like an astro shoot. So they shoot we're part of a dark skies community. So they'll like shoot, the stargazing at night. I'll have a photographer go out to Big Bend, take photos that I could use and then promote as well. A photo I've been promoting lately, like on Instagram, doesn't even show my property. It just shows an amazing view of the mountains, and it shows this like little blip of like a huge like rainfall just passing through. It's like a comical like cartoon where you see the rain kind of hitting the desert, and that has nothing. You don't see my property, but it's coming from the property. So a lot of people like that. It's a video actually, and a lot of people respond well to that. So it really is like, I'm lucky that we're in West Texas because Big Bend is so beautiful and a special place. So it does a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the marketing.
Do most of the people come from other parts of Texas? I mean, Texas is so big, right? So
Yeah.
like you circle a 2 or 3 hour drive from there, and there's still a lot of Texas that's not in that.
Yeah, oh, it's 7 hours from Austin. I know it too well. I've been many times for a project. I'm going next week, and I already have my podcast lined up. But yes, a lot of people are beginning to know it, and I think COVID did that. COVID was the boom, and no one could really fly. They had to drive somewhere, and there's the hill country, which is also well known, and it's been visited a lot, and it's pretty over there. But I don't think that compares to Big Bend, where you have the mountains, and the views and the hiking. And so I think it was kind of just like a hidden spot in Texas. I'm from South Texas. I never really went over there, really heard much about Big Bend until now, or 5 years ago. And it wasn't until then when everyone was driving everywhere where we decided, you know what, let's check it out. And, I wasn't sure exactly at the moment when I first went there, what I wanted to do, but I wanted to spend more time over there.
Mm-hmm. Talk a bit about post-production with the photography, right? I mean, we're all sitting around these days with fantastic cameras in our pockets, but there is still a role for photographers, right? And you and I see it with other people's listings that clearly are iPhone photos and iPhone photos only that have no retouching afterward. The angles just look just off. It's not like a professional eye looked at it. We always recommend that people could supplement their listings with iPhone photos. If you're getting some seasonality that you weren't able to get with a photographer, that's fine. But after you do a photo shoot or any pictures that you're taking, as a creative director, you're probably not just posting them, right? What do you do in post afterward?
Well, it starts actually before post, and even now, I'm designing this new casita. And I hate, it sounds cliche because it sounds like I'm too focused on Instagram in a way, at least in my mind. But I'm kind of designing for what that photo is going to look like. I'm looking at doing a skylight. Okay, how's that going to look when you're in bed? Or how's the window going to look? I get into the weeds and maybe I overthink everything with the design. But the idea is that you're in bed, you open the glass window doors and you see the view. Okay, what kind of lines are blocking that window view? And I took them down, but I have some photos of a Scandinavian retreat where someone took a photo of a circular window. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. So it kind of starts before. I'm not saying for every project, for a lot of people listening, it's not oh, you have to start from the ground up design, but it starts with pre-production in the sense that I look at photos kind of when I'm doing a TV shoot or photo shoot. I start researching photos I like, video I like, and what speaks to me, what I think is cool. And I start putting together a mood board, oh, I like how that person took that shot, or I like the color he used in that, or the color treatment. Is it really moody, or is there a lot of magic hour, when the sun's setting and you get more of the purple in the sky? So I keep that in mind, and I put together a mood board of what I want to express in the photos. And I'll even go, I have my mini iPhone from years ago. I'll go to the property and I'll shoot, and I'll try to see, okay, well, I noticed the shot is more waist high. That's been my trick lately, of waist high, because I saw a photographer that I like do that. So I'll take the photos and then I'll put together a little presentation of these are the photos I would like to capture. And I send that to the photographer. And I caveat, these are the photos that are in my head that I like, and I think they will look great. I'll make sure the angles, the composition works. And of course I'll let them know that they're more than welcome to go off and do their own shoot as well. I don't want to prohibit them from taking their own creative shots, but I do kind of balance that of these are the photos I kind of want. But if you have any other ideas, feel free to take photos, even of outside the property. If there's an amazing view or something else you see, please take photos of that as well. So I put that mood board together with expression and kind of exact photos so that they have something to go off with. The last photographer I gave 30 photos of what I wanted, and he came back with more or less the same ones, but he knows how to work the camera, he knows how to work the lighting, and his work is even fresh because it's, if you look at a lot of photography, you can kind of see the style of it kind of feels dated based on for a while a lot of people were doing spotlights in the house. A lot of people do real estate photos where it's zoomed out and it's super spacious, and you can kind of there's a date, there's timestamp mentally when you see that. You're okay, I've seen that on Zillow way too many times. the photographer I'm using now uses natural light, and he stays still, so he's able to like capture all that light into the photo. And to me, that feels fresh and new and premium. So yeah, like I said, I can go on and on and on, but that's how I approach it with them. And then in post production, like you were asking, we just retouch a little bit, brighten up, and that kind of stuff.
I mean, I think this prioritization of the photos is important. And if anybody's listening who thinks that their listing isn't, particularly, Instagrammable or anything, it's not. What you're selling are the photos and the listing of the property. So have an imagination, and if you don't have an imagination, outsource it. But the single best thing you can do for your property is getting the photographs just right, because they tell a story, not just a story about the house like it's a real estate listing, but they tell a story of what your experience will be when you're there. And if that sounds a little corny or cliche to some people, it's not, because that's what people are really paying for when they take a trip.
100%.
I think it's super cool that you're taking pictures. Like most people would take the pictures that you took and then use those. You're taking the pictures that you want to take that you then send to the photographer to take similar pictures to then use those. That's like a whole nother layer, which, 99% of hosts aren't doing. And it just shows the level of creativity that you have, the respect you have for photographers and that craft. And I love having partners with stuff. I love having other people involved because I like having another set of eyes on something. And by you taking the photos that are in your head and sharing it, you get back better photos of those, plus other ones that you're like, oh, I didn't see it that way. Or, wow, I'm glad that the photographer, she was able to capture it, with that lighting. Like, that's just stunning. So that's a really cool way to think about the property. I mean, I don't think we've ever had anybody say, I'm thinking about the photos before I design the entire short-term rental, which is, that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
So being that you're living in Austin, right?
Correct.
Do you know Ryan Trahan, the YouTube guy? He's traveling around the country right now doing staying at 50 cool Airbnbs.
Oh, that's
one
awesome.
in each state. Yeah, you should check out the series. He actually lives in Austin, and he's staying in all places that are like yours, right? Like, and yeah, it's part of. I don't know if this is an Airbnb promotion or what, but he's raising money for St. Jude's, and I just look at like your images, and like they just kind of feel like a lot of the types of places that he selected.
Awesome.
So along that line, have you had influencers or people want to stay in your place in exchange for, notoriety or reaching their audience?
Yeah, I've actually had a few influencers, and some have been great. Some have really like knocked it out. Like, whoa, one person had like a great look and style. It's not my style, but like I appreciate it, and it added a lot to the overall like brand. So I was really like appreciative of that. So yes, fortunately we've had some influencers come in, and that's pretty much it. We've even had I don't know if I can say Airbnbs actually like try to it's like you once wanted to use some of the photos, and so like it might, I don't know if it's going to go in a campaign or whatnot, but excited about that if it makes it out there.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't surprise me. I think that, you look at the oh wow category and you look at all these, stay in a potato in Idaho type places. So they're looking for that small percentage of really interesting stays to be able to sell the sizzle of the platform. I mean, like, frankly, a downtown Cincinnati 2-bedroom condo for business travelers is probably not what Airbnb wants to think of as their brand. They probably they want the Wild West, West Texas, tumbleweeds and sunsets and mirror houses. And, that sells the dream. What the heck is a mirror house? Like, I'm looking at it, but can you describe it? We don't really have too many of those here in the Northeast.
Yeah, and I call it mirror cabin because I feel like
mirror cabin.
It's a little bit, just because it's house feels like huge, and the mirror cabin is more of just like a 1-bed / bath like unit. So you walk in, and if anyone wants to check it out, I have a website, ghosttowncasitas.com, and there's some photos there, or on Instagram, Ghost Town Casitas. But you can look at the photos, and you walk in, and you have like 3 sides of glass, and you can see outward. And it just is like, it's a small footprint, but with all the glass mirrors, it makes it feel so much larger once you walk in. And on the outside, it's all reflection. So you go on the outside and you can see yourself. And at night you can see in, but thankfully we have curtains. So like they're like pitch black, light knockout curtains. So
Mm-hmm.
close them and you're good to go. But it's just like three-sided, mirror cabin. And one side isn't, because that's where like the front entrance is. And I went with that unit. It's a really cool unit and it worked well with the desert because of the reflections and the landscape. But I also went with that unit because it was a prefab unit in the beginning. Part of it was prefab. The inside, I did like the interior design, but the exterior, I didn't. And I wanted more control. And being in the desert, you don't have access to many resources. So I was afraid to have an actual like ground up build at the time because I didn't know a lot of contractors. And so I was just trying to find something that looked cool, but could be built elsewhere and then could be brought into West Texas. And then I could finish it out, the inside and whatnot. So that's where we ended up with the Ghost House, is what I call it.
So I keep looking over at my other monitor, which has everything on it, because
Yeah.
I want to get the names of everything right. So, you have it's a 3 structure combo in this destination: Ghost House, Casa Piedra, and Desert Pearl. And Desert Pearl looks like a renovated Airstream,
Correct.
with some outdoor amenities. Was Casa Piedra there? Like, did
It
you buy
was
the property?
there.
Okay, so that was there when you bought it.
Yes,
Everything
it was
else was not.
in the trailer was too. So
Trailer
the
was
only
too.
one that wasn't was that Ghost House, the mirror cabin. And I knew I wanted to build something there. There's like a little like space for that unit.
Yeah.
And so that was the thinking too of like, okay, cool, we can invest in this and then we can build a little more just to, take advantage of that, like that piece of land. And so, that's where it came from. So the first two were there, and then I just brought in the Ghost House.
Is there more space to expand on this current property?
Not on this one. So this one you could, but I think it'd be too much. So it's right in the heart of like Terlingua Ghost Town is what they call it. And the cool thing about this area is that you can like walk to like a cool iconic restaurant or a coffee shop down the road or like a taqueria. So I want to keep it how it is right now, but I still wanted to build more, which is this new casita I'm building, along with like, there was a house that was there that I just completed the renovation, and I'm calling it Big Ben Vista. Like I bought the logo. I did the logo lock up and like already bought the swag before I even like built the place or had it. I just knew that like, this is like, people have vision boards. I have hats. I have hats and coasters.
You make that happen. Like, you get the brand in front of you, you see it every day, then you visualize it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all right. So you're building more. So is this basically a formula that you feel like you're comfortable replicating in other areas, or not other areas in the country, but just if you want to build out, other areas here in West Texas?
Possibly. It could be in West Texas. It could be elsewhere. I'd like to find a place where I'm not driving 7 hours one way. But I really like West Texas. It's so pretty. Like when you get there, and especially I have 2 young kids. And so I just like want to take them out and like let them see what we don't see. There's a little bit of nature in Austin, obviously, but there's just like so much out there. So, it's the best of both worlds in a way.
Talk a bit about trying to dad while you're trying to work, if you're bringing your kids out to, Ghost Town Casitas.
Yeah, trying to dad is tricky. I mean, I know y'all are probably living it too. You have a daughter, but 2 kids, that means you just have to wake up earlier. I think today was like 3 in the morning, just because it's like my zen time to get work done. I still do advertising. Like I'm a freelance creative director, so I'll jump on assignments, projects. And so between that and like kind of overseeing this project in West Texas, it just requires you to like, go to sleep early, you wake up early and like, get work done. And I actually think it's for parents. I didn't realize this, but it's kind of a weird superpower in the sense that like, okay, my kid's in daycare or my kid's at this camp thing, like I only have this amount of time. I got to use every minute. You can't just like, willy-nilly, yeah, I feel like I'm going to work on this today. You have to be very, very, disciplined to like get stuff done, as I'm sure y'all are aware.
Very practical with your time and intentional with it also.
Intentional, keyword, yeah.
I'm just trying to think back to a couple of years ago when we first started talking. Did you have these properties back then, or did you had a different direction with what you were going to do with short-term rentals?
Yeah, I think I just acquired them and I was like working on them in terms of like the design, interior design. I also was like working on several short-term rentals here in Austin, and I still do one, and it's going okay. Like Austin, it was really at its like high point a few years ago. Now it's just like stable, but it's doing well. And so in the beginning, I was like open to, should I manage other people's short term rentals? And maybe I'll do that. I tried it once with someone else's and it was fine. We had a plan to like let me go in and help them design, and they went crickets for like a couple months, and then they came back like, oh, we designed it and here's everything you need. I'm just like, I felt kind of like I felt bad to just like tell them, hey, this isn't what we agreed to. But I took it on, helped them manage it for a couple of years, and then they wanted to sell it. But for the most part, it's really just focusing on West Texas right now.
Yeah.
We were in that short-term rental secrets group, and I was fortunate to be in it. I learned a lot from the team over there, and they're still great to like listen to their Facebook posts and whatnot. But yeah, it's a short-term rentals. Like there's so many avenues. It's pretty
Yeah.
fun.
I think that, I mean, I'm still a member of the group, and I think that it is, and probably because I like the network of folks that we met there. I think everyone's very giving, and there's so much information that you can learn from there. And then we actually did go into a direction of co-hosting, which, when I first met you, I was like, oh, I want nothing to do with that. And then here we're sitting with 21 clients in Provincetown,
Wow.
Massachusetts. So
Yeah.
I still have to learn how to, it's like I know how to do it now, but like being part of the group, I do think STR Secrets leans a little bit more toward people looking to build out these businesses, like these co-hosting businesses. And then it kind of pulls in other people, maybe like yourself, that want to just learn the space, find some other like-minded people that maybe are into the design work or like just what short-term rental space is. I do want to start to wrap up, but I want to ask a bit about New York. You were going to do this in New York when you were living there, and you dodged a bullet with the regulations. What were you planning on doing with short-term rentals in New York while you were, living in the city?
I just, helping someone put together like a short-term rental in the East Village, and I was like, researching like that. I was already in the design. I was over there, and I was like meeting up with a potential cleaner, and trying to find how like the system would work with like keys and whatnot. And it just seemed like I could see the writing on the wall, and so I
Yeah.
just figured, you know what, like we could do this. We could even do a midterm, and it was like I still do want to do it, but and then at the end of the day I was just like, you know what, like let's just hold and see what's going on. And then the whole ban on New York City like short-term rentals, and then they were like, it wasn't clear, like, okay, is it all apartments, is it all, you know is it single family like units, or it was just like not clear in the beginning. But we decided to hold, and then sure enough, everything seems like was banned to even
Yeah.
touch. So who knows? In the future, it'd be nice, but at the same time, I get what they're going for, why they're banning them, and I respect that. I wonder if there's like a smart balance to like let people come in and stay there and live there, um, but also let other people come in and like actually visit and like tour New York City without paying expensive hotel fees, which is
Yeah.
kind of crazy right now.
What's the regulation situation in Terlingua?
Kind of non-existent. If you can find a place with water, electric, or go off grid, I mean, you're good to go. But that is, I will say, that is something to anyone who's looking for West Texas or their own version of West Texas. I think water and electric. It sounds great. Okay, I'm going to do solar, or we'll bring water in, and that's cool. But some things I think for anyone who's looking to do something like out in the desert is you need to make sure that like who's going to bring the water in, is it safe, is it can you drink it, is it expensive, is that person reliable, same with the electric, are you going to go solar, like does the equipment work? So it sounds like what I'm painting, I'm hoping I'm not painting a, oh yeah, it's easy, anyone can go to like West Texas and put something cool up. It took a lot of work, and there are a lot of like opportunities I see, but it really depends on the work. Like I try to find a way to do it so I'm not having to spend a lot of time on logistics.
Yeah. we'll put a pin in that and leave that for part 2 of our discussion about operations out there, because we could probably just have a whole nother 3-hour discussion about that. But if you have questions about how to operate a place like West Texas, I think Coleman is probably a good dude to reach out to and can learn a lot from. Hey, Rory, any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
There's one question that's on my mind that I want to ask before we get out of here, and that's about operating smaller units. We've interviewed a ton of people who swear by running larger properties that can house a ton of people and have a big multi-generational get together as the best way to make money. You're running some smaller units. What are some of the advantages to owning and operating smaller units?
It's to me, it's like, I mean, whatever works for you. For me, I enjoy kind of interacting a little bit with the guests and like providing that, experience in hospitality and like communicating with them. It's not all the time though. And it's a smaller set. Right now we'll have 5 by the end of this year. So in West Texas, and it's manageable right now for like one person. I don't spend a lot of time. I think one thing I took away from short-term secrets, Jason, is, like Mike's pitch on like try to work as least as possible, at least in the week, and not in the sense of like be lazy, but give yourself that like discipline of like only spend 2 hours on the business so that you can grow the business. And so for me, I try to like incorporate that I only have 5 units out there. So like, how can I automate some messaging? How can I actually like chime in and kind of make it feel not so robotic, if that makes sense. So it's, just making sure you have a system, like whether it's a large scale unit or smaller, you have a system in place that you can like, that works for you.
It's a balance. I mean, like we have a lot of our stuff automated right now with our messaging. We're using AI to respond during certain hours of the day. We fed it lots of prompts and lots of FAQs, and we think that most of that conversation is actually good and in our voice. But I still jump into conversations all the time. I have a guest coming in a week or 2 up to our place, Granite Vista, up in Guilford, New Hampshire. They're excited. They asked some questions about, beach chairs and things like that. And they mentioned they're going to see Bare Naked Ladies at the pavilion up there. And I took a look, and they said they saw them in Providence years ago, and they have a 401 number. And I'm like, I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about the fact that I used to be on the radio in Providence, Rhode Island, back in the 90s when Bare Naked Ladies were around. And I met them a number of years ago, and I just jumped into that conversation because I could not do it. Right. So like it humanizes it a little bit. And I don't think AI would have known that about me because I didn't tell it about me. I didn't.
Not yet.
My VAs probably don't know that. So I'm totally cool with jumping into the conversation. So I appreciate the fact that you did that as well. I mean, you put a lot of time and love and energy into Ghost Town Casitas, and it really shows with the way you talk about it and the way it's presented online. So we're going to link it up in the show notes. If you're curious to see what we've been talking about this whole time, I strongly advise you to follow Coleman, follow Ghost Town Casitas, and go check it out. And if you're ever in West Texas, to swing by. We've never been there, but you know where we're going to stay if we go there, Rory.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Hey, Coleman, thanks so much. It's great to catch up with you again here at Smart State Show. So thanks for all the time. Thank you for listening. If you've enjoyed the episode, we love if you subscribe or give us comments. We love 5-star reviews. We're up on Apple Podcasts. We're up on Spotify. We're on YouTube. And if you want to be a guest on the show, smartstateshow.com is where you can find us. All right. Rory, Coleman, thank you.
Thanks, y'all.